Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army. Army officers say the missile, found sometime last week, has been inspected at Roswell, New Mexico, and sent to Wright Field, Ohio, for further inspection. Russia has demanded UN action to get all foreign military...
I'm Christian Stefanisi. You're watching Disclosures of the Third Kind. Yes, hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Disclosures of the Third Kind. You're listening to me, Christian Stefanisi, with crypto in the background. Today we're going to be doing episode 10, the Paul Bennewitz files. Thank you at Mirrorstall for your comment. Yes, absolutely, we needed all 9 pages of the FOIA request. It's very important that we get these out because that is an interesting case. And Paul Bennewitz is one of those that, or Dr. Paul Bennewitz, I should say, that was discredited heavily by the Air Force, or he was fed disinformation by Air Force Officer Special Intelligence Richard Doty and Bill Moore, who came forward in 1989 saying that he'd led disinformation campaigns. So it's unfortunate to that Paul Bennewitz suffered, or Dr. Paul Bennewitz suffered mental health issues and was institutionalized and died in 2003. It's a very sad case. But yes, for you, Mirrorstall, we shall be looking at all 9 documents today through the Freedom of Information Act request. It took a year to turn these documents around, by the way, folks. I put them in, oh God, it'll be about July 2025. They got back to me May the 1st. So that puts the sort of time frames you're looking at with Freedom of Information Act requests. If you're asking for anything, folks, and you email the Air Force Office of Special Intelligence or any other Freedom of Information Act request departments, you'll be waiting a sufficiently long time unless you're willing to pay up front for them to do the work to find the documents in the first place. It's a rigorous task searching for these documents. They've got to put all their staffing behind it, so I do appreciate them turning this around. That's the start of my Freedom of Information Act request. It's pretty basic. You will have seen it in my shorts. It was just outlined, yes, this is in response to your Freedom of Information Act request dated 29th of December 2025. So it's later than I said it was actually. No, it was December 2025. I thought it was July because I'd put one in July as well. So apologies about that. No, it was the 29th of December. For information pertaining to Majestic 12, records pertaining to non-human biological materials or entities allegedly held or examined at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in the late 1940s or early 1950s, and records, and this is the important part, pertaining to Paul Bennewitz, which we assigned tracking number 2026-01940-F. Again, there's heavy redactions throughout. They've stated this here. Exemption A, B6 permits the withholding of all information about individuals in personnel and medical files and similar files when the disclosure of such information would constitute a clearly unwarranted invasion of personal privacy. B, exemption B7C provides protection for personal information in law enforcement records, the disclosure of which could reasonably be expected to constitute an unwanted invasion of personal privacy. So nothing really that's not expected in FOIA requests. Basically, the people that are within these documents are still alive and they want their personal details to be kept. So we're just adhering with that. That's absolutely fine, no problem at all. Let's dig in to our 9 pages of documents. We're starting off at the moment, folks, with the complaint form, administrative data of the Air Force Office of Special Intelligence, and this is outlining an incident here at the Manzano weapons storage area. That's the document itself, if you can see that very well. I will read it out to you anyway. So there's obviously heavy redactions throughout for names. So the title, Kirtland Air Force Base, what looks like 114, 8th of August to the 3rd of September 1980. Alleged sightings of unidentified aerial lights in restricted test range. So this is a sensitive area, folks, the Manzano storage facility, and there's strange phenomena seen over these sites. So the Air Force is very interested. Right, so we've got Time, or date, sorry, 2nd to the 9th of September 1980. Time, 1200. Place, Air Force Officer Special Intelligence, DT 1700, Kirtland Air Force Base, New Mexico. And we know Paul Bennewitz was working with Kirtland Air Force Base. He lived not far from the Kirtland Air Force Base, in fact. Redacted. Here we go. Remarks. Summary of information. On the 2nd of September 1980, source related on August 8th, 1980, 3 security policemen assigned to 1609 SPS, Kirtland Air Force Base, New Mexico, on duty inside the Manzano weapons storage area, sighted an unidentified light in the air that traveled from north to south over the Coyote Canyon area of the Department of Defense Restricted Test Range, or Kirtland Air Force Base, New Mexico. The security policemen, identified as Staff Sergeant Redacted, ATIC Redacted, AM Redacted, were later interviewed separately by source, and all 3 related the same statement. At approximately 23:50 hours, while on duty in Charlie Sector, east side of the Manzano storage facility, the 3 observed a very bright light in the sky approximately 3 miles northeast of their position. The light... Sorry, I'm having to tilt this round because it's very, very difficult to read in parts. Where are we up to? The light travelled with great speed and stopped suddenly in the sky over Coyote Canyon. The 3 first thought the object was a helicopter. However, after observing the strange aerial manoeuvres, stop and go, which has been explained before, stopping on a dime and then shooting off, as you've seen also in the UAP videos recently, they felt a helicopter couldn't have performed such skills. The light landed in the Coyote Canyon area sometime later. Three witnessed the light take off and leave, proceeding straight up at a high speed and disappear completely. Let's see if we can read this better here. Right. 2. Central Security Control, CSC, inside Manzano contacted Sardia Security, who conducts frequent building checks on 2 alarm structures in the area. They advised that a patrol was already in the area and would investigate. 3. On the 11th of August 1980, Redacted advised that on 9th of August 80, a Sandia security guard who wishes his name not be divulged for fear of harassment related the following. At approximately 0020 hours, he was driving east on the Coyote Canyon access road on a routine building check of an alarm structure. As he approached the structure, he observed a bright light near the ground behind the structure. He also observed an object he first thought was a helicopter, but after driving closer, he observed a round disc-shaped object. He attempted to radio for a backup patrol, but his radio would not work. As he approached the object on foot, armed with a shotgun, the object took off in a vertical direction at a very high rate of speed. Redacted stated the object he observed was not a helicopter. Source advised 22nd of August 1980, 3 other security policemen observed the same. Date forwarded HQ AFOSI. I can't read the handwriting here. It's just a signature. Redacted. And that's the first page. Air Force Office of Special Intelligence. Very interesting indeed, that incident in itself. So they're basically stating, yes, these lights, they're performing outlandish manoeuvres. At first they thought there was a helicopter, but it's definitely not. Not with the stop and go ability like that. And it was also, you'll find out in a minute, was videoed and photographed by Dr. Paul Bennewitz. Here, ladies and gentlemen, is document number 2. Detachment Commander's comments and recommendations. Very difficult to read, excuse me folks while I... Base Commander was briefed but did not request an AFOSI investigation at this time. At present, coordination with Sandia Security Department of Energy Security and Security Police is being conducted. The FBI will not become involved in the matter. If future sightings occur, suggest tech coverage of the area to determine whether a threat exists against the CR-44 material. I will look up what the CR-44 material is. I assume it's something to do with the Manzano storage facility itself. Being in the Army Reserves, I'm not part of the US, never been part of anything to do with the US, so I don't know technicalities for the US Air Forces or Armies to Reserves or anything like that. So that's something I will need to look into. Date 9th September 1980, redacted, Major US Air Force, redacted again. Other comments. There could be various explanations regarding the origin of the observed phenomena. Our interest centers around any potential threat to the Coyote Canyon area. Tech observation will be considered if future incidents occur in that area. Redacted, 9th of September 1980, redacted, and redacted again. Interesting. So they're investigating to see if a threat exists against the CR-44 material and what sort of national security implications this has on the Manzano storage facility. Document number 3. Contained from complaint something 1 DTD 9th of September 80. Aerial phenomena described by the first 3. Again, the object landed in Coyote Canyon. They did not see the object take off. 5. Coyote Canyon is part of a large restricted test range used by the Air Force Weapons Laboratory, Sandia Laboratories, Defense Nuclear Agency, and the Department of Energy. The range was formerly patrolled by Sandia Security. However, they only conduct building checks there now. 6. On the 10th of August 1980, a New Mexico State Patrolman sighted aerial object land in the Manzanos between Belen and Albuquerque, New Mexico. The patrolman reported the sighting to the Kirtland Air Force Base command post, who later referred the patrolman to the Air Force Office of Special Intelligence, District 17. Air Force Office of Special Intelligence, District 17 advised the patrolman to make a report through his own agency. On the 11th of August 1980, the Kirtland Public Information Office advised the patrolman the US Air Force no longer investigates such sightings unless they occur on a US Air Force base. 7. Redacted contacted all the agencies who utilised the test range, and it was learned no aerial tests are conducted in the Coyote Canyon area. Now that is interesting. Only ground tests are conducted. 8. On the 8th of September 1980, redacted learned from Sandia Nat Security that another security guard observed an object land near an alarm structure sometime during the first week of August, but did not report it until just recently for fear of harassment. 9. The 2 alarm structures located within the area contains HQ CR-44 material. Right, okay, so that CR-44 material is something to do with the Sandia National Base. That makes a lot of sense now. Or the Manzano storage facility in the Coyote Canyon. That makes total sense. Right. Document number 4. Multipurpose internal OSI form. Subject: Kirtland Air Force Base, New Mexico, 8th of August, 3rd of September 1980. Alleged sightings of unidentified aerial lights in restricted test range. There's a number here. It is 801Z D93-0/29, 26th of November. Transmittal date 26th of November 1980. Okay, here we go. Remarks. On the 10th of November 1980, a meeting took place in 1606 ABW//CC conference room, attended by the following individuals: Brigadier General William Brookshire, AFOSP/CC, Colonel Colonel Redacted, a lot of redacteds, Colonel Redacted, Lieutenant Redacted, Major Redacted, Doctor Redacted, which would be Dr. Paul Bennewitz, I assume. Dr. Paul F. Bennewitz, President Thunder Scientific Laboratory, Albuquerque. Dr. Bennewitz presented film and photographs of alleged unidentified aerial objects photographed over Kirtland Air Force Base, New Mexico, during the last 15 months. Dr. Bennewitz also related he had documented proof that he was in contact with the aliens flying the objects. At the conclusion of the presentation, Dr. Bennewitz expressed an interest in obtaining financial assistance from the U.S. Air Force in furthering his investigation regarding these objects. Dr. Redacted advised Dr. Bennewitz to request a U.S. Air Force grant for research. Dr. Redacted advised Dr. Bennewitz he would assist him in filling out the proper documents. Very interesting. Especially because it says Dr. Bennewitz was supposedly in contact with these aliens flying these ships. That's a very interesting statement. And we know from what Dr. Bennewitz said he knew about the Dulce base in New Mexico. He did come out saying he had contact with these aliens, but like I said, they drove him to the point of madness. The Air Force feeding him lies, saying that he was being watched by aliens, being attacked. So we don't know how far. This would have been before he was driven mad by the Air Force Office of Special Intelligence and was put under a disinformation campaign. So it's very interesting. This is the earlier stuff that he's saying that, yes, I'm in contact with them. Very interesting indeed. On the 17th of November 1980, SA Redacted advised Dr. Bennewitz that Air Force Officer of Special Intelligence would not become involved in the investigation of these objects. Dr. Bennewitz was advised Redacted, Major U.S. Air Force Redacted. Okay, heavily redacted at the end. Like I said, there's a few interesting things on that document specifically. So they're palming him off. Clearly they are interested in what these things are, but they're not interested in Paul Bennewitz's side. Most likely he lost his credibility when he took folk that he was in contact with the aliens. They most likely palmed him off at that point. He may well have been in contact with these aliens. We don't know. He's a very intelligent man, Dr. Bennewitz. So it's a very interesting thing to have brought up. Next document. That Air Force Office of Special Intelligence was not in a position to evaluate the information and the photographs he has collected today or technically investigate such matters. 3. On the 26th of November 1980, SA Redacted received a phone call from an individual who identified himself as U.S. Senator Harrison Schmitt of New Mexico. Senator Schmitt inquired about Air Force Officer of Special Intelligence's role in investigating the aerial phenomena, reported by Dr. Bennewitz. SA Redacted advised Senator Schmitt that Air Force Office of Special Intelligence was not investigating the phenomena. SA Redacted then politely referred Senator Schmitt to Air Force Office of Special Intelligence, District 17/CC. Senator Schmitt declined to speak with 17/CC and informed SA Redacted he would request that SAF, Special Air Force, SAF, I'm not sure what that acronym stands for, look into the matter and determine what U.S. Air Force agency should investigate the phenomena. 4. It should be noted that Dr. Bennewitz has allegedly had a number of conversations with Senator Schmitt during the last few months regarding Bennewitz's private research. Senator Schmitt had made telephone calls to Brigadier General Brookshire Air Force Office of Special Personnel /CC regarding the matter, since security police are responsible for the security of the Manzano storage area. Absolutely, it's clearly a point of high interest for these beings. Again, they're always seen around military installations. They take a great interest in our atomic weaponry and our atomic abilities and our military capability too. They're trying to work out, I think, what sort of a threat we would pose, either A, for taking these things into space and beyond, or B, they're just keeping a general eye on us and keeping tabs. I lean between the two, to be honest. Yeah, they possess certain, what's the word I'm looking for? Reconnaissance ability. They're able to keep tabs without, they are spotted, obviously. They're always spotted, or 9 times out of 10 they're spotted, but nobody believes it anyway, because it just gets shucked off and moved on to the next thing. And as we know, with disclosure happening now, it's going to be a different thing, hopefully. But yeah, it's that they do seem to be able to perform reconnaissance tasks and just zip off straight away without any implications whatsoever. Right, Air Force Officer Special Intelligence Communication, redacted. Dr. Paul Frederick Bennewitz, Congressional Inquiry. Apologies for my English. Right. Other remarks. So, items checked are applicable to the above subject. Investigation has been initiated and reports will be forwarded as soon as possible. This matter is pending or closed. They haven't ticked any of those boxes there. So that's interesting. So we'll just go straight down to the remarks then. Other remarks. On the 30th of July 1981, the 1606th ABWIG contacted DO17/BID and advised that Senator Peter Domenici desired to talk to SA Redacted regarding the matter involving Bennewitz. After checking with Colonel Redacted, it was agreed SA Redacted and DO17/CC would meet with Senator Domenici. Senator Domenici was present in the IG's office, but departed immediately to meet with Bennewitz. A subsequent check with Mr. Redacted, Senator Domenici's aide, in an effort to determine the Senator's specific questions, determined his sole interest was to know whether Air Force Office of Special Intelligence has conducted a formal investigation of subject. Mr. Redacted was informed that no formal investigation of Bennewitz was conducted by Air Force Office of Special Investigation. Mr. Redacted stated that he assumed if any information were available and was to be requested from Air Force Office of Special Intelligence, it would have to be requested from our headquarters. He was provided Colonel Redacted name and the Bowling Air Force Base address of our HQ, Air Force Office of Special Intelligence, in event he desired any further information. Mr. Redacted thanked us and indicated no further inquiries from the Senator regarding this matter are anticipated. Just some scribbling at the bottom here. 801-2093-0/29X. That number means absolutely nothing to me. I assume it's part of the documents here. Copies to headquarters, Air Force Office of Special Intelligence /IVSO OS file. Redacted Colonel /US Air Force Office of Special Information, form July 77. Right, interesting, very interesting indeed. So they're trying to ascertain whether they actually have investigated Dr. Paul Bennewitz and his photographs and the case itself. Next form, heading multi-purpose internal OSI form, complete only applicable items, which it doesn't seem that they have actually filled out any of the items. File number 801-7093-0/29. That makes total sense now that number before is the file number in total. Transmittal date of this document is the 28th of October 1980. So they haven't filled out any of this, so that's fine. We won't go into that. We'll just go straight to the remarks. You'll see that, folks, there. That's the documents. Most of the documents that look like this. That's an Air Force complaint form. That is your information underneath. Right, here we go. So, remarks. On the 24th of October 1980, Dr. Paul Frederick Bennewitz, male, born on the 30th of September 1927, KS, civilian, redacted, 1413 Wagon Train Drive, Albuquerque, New Mexico, contacted SA, redacted through Major, redacted and related. He had knowledge and evidence of threats against Manzano weapons storage area. The threat was from aerial phenomena over Manzano. Now, this is interesting and not to have been taken lightly by the Air Force whatsoever. 2. On 26th of October 1980, SA redacted with the assistance of redacted SGS-15 redacted interviewed Dr. Bennewitz as this at his home in the Four Hills section of Albuquerque, which is adjacent to the northern boundary of Manzano Base. Note, redacted, Mr. Redacted, in one of the most knowledgeable and is in one of the most knowledgeable and impartial investigators of aerial objects in the Southwest. Dr. Bennewitz produced photographs and over 2,600 feet of 8mm motion picture film depicting unidentified aerial objects flying over and around the Manzano weapons storage area and a Coyote Canyon test area. Interesting. Dr. Bennewitz has been conducting independent research into aerial phenomena for the last 15 months. That figures, yeah, he did start in the late 70s, so many others have claimed the same. So Dr. Bennewitz also produced several electronic recording tapes. Interesting. Redacted, I wonder what was on those tapes, because I've never had them through from the Air Force. Again, I requested anything to do with Dr. Bennewitz and they never came through. Major, US Air Force, redacted, and again, the document number, and then redacted. Now that's really interesting. I wonder where those tapes are. They could already be out in the public sphere, but I have not run into them, if that's the case. We do know that Bennewitz was claiming that he was making contact with the beings that were operating his craft, if that's what's on the tape, or that's what's on the recording. Hopefully that's in our the next tranches of UAP files that's released by Trump. I really hope that's on there. That would be very interesting to listen to. Allegedly showing high periods of electrical magnetism being emitted from Manzano/Coyote Canyon area. Dr. Bennewitz also produced several photographs of flying objects taken over the general Albuquerque area. He has several pieces of electronic surveillance equipment pointed at Manzano and is attempting to record high-frequency electrical beam pulses. Dr. Bennewitz claims these aerial objects produce these pulses. That figures, that makes total sense. 3, electromagnetism it's been brought up many a time before by investigators in the 50s and the 60s and the 40s. It was brought up by Robert Sarbacher, actually, in a memo in March 1950. I've put that in one of my reels, I think, basically saying that Frank Scully was correct in his assumptions and these sources worked in a form of electromagnetism or geomagnetism. So what Dr. Bennewitz is saying here is pretty much coherent with what was said by Dr. Robert Sarbacher. 3. After analysing the data collected by Dr. Bennewitz, Mr. Redacted related the evidence clearly shows that some type of unidentified aerial objects were caught on film. However, no conclusions could be made whether these objects pose a threat to the Manzano and Coyote Canyon areas. Mr. Redacted felt the electronic recording tapes were inconclusive and could have been gathered from several conventional sources. No sightings other than these have been reported in the area. A nice get out of jail card by the Air Force Office of Special Investigation there. Basically, it's inconclusive. We've heard that many a time before, haven't we? 4. Mr. Redacted has contacted FTD personnel at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, Ohio, who expressed an interest and are scheduled to inspect Dr. Bennewitz's data. 5. Requested DCI I check be made on Dr. Bennewitz. 6, this is responsive to HQ CR44. 7, commanders briefed but did not request an investigation at this time. Well, that is certainly interesting. Again, I've read the documents before, but just reading them again, it's pretty mind-blowing stuff. That what Paul Bennewitz is saying is, I've got evidence right here. These things are working on electromagnetism. I'm a scientist. I'm a doctor. I have the evidence in front of you. No wonder they fed him disinformation. He knew plenty that he could go out with, and they wanted to discredit the witness, as they do, or they have been doing. Very interesting documents there, and I hope you did enjoy this video, ladies and gentlemen. The Dr. Paul Bennewitz story is a very sad one, and it's one for another episode. I really hope we will talk of that. Yeah, the way he was driven insane by the Air Force Office of Special Intelligence and Richard Doty. Again, Richard Doty's come out now stating these things as facts and said that he was part of these disinformation campaigns, and he's paid a lot of money to people to basically take the mick out of flying saucers and the UFO phenomena in different skits and basically through news channels, etc. Yes, so no, I really do think there is something going on here. Very, very strange. Disclosure Day is due in a few days. The movie, 12th of June, I believe it's coming out. Going to go and see it with a good friend of mine. I'll let you know. I'll give you some raving reviews if it's good. It does look very good. The grey alien they've got in it looks great. So yes, excuse me. But before I go off on a completely different course, thank you for watching another episode, ladies and gentlemen, of Disclosures of the Third Kind. And I hope we see you again for the next one. Me and Crypto here. The Area 51 sign's gone down. That's the end of that. But yes, I hope you have enjoyed. Check out my book, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to support me, do check out my book. 2 books I've written: Beyond Roswell, Cold War Cover-Ups and Conspiracy Theories, and The Undisclosed Visitors, which are both available on Amazon. I think the other one, it's available. There's a few other websites you can get it on. Waterstones is one of them as well. It's not in store yet. These are all online at the moment. And I believe that's it for the moment. I believe Barnes & Noble are selling them too. Barnes & Noble as well. Those 2 books are mine. So if you go on Barnes & Noble, you can find either Beyond Roswell, Cold War Cover-Ups and Conspiracy Theories, and The Undisclosed Visitors. I would really appreciate the support, folks. And yeah, stay tuned and keep watching those skies. We are definitely not alone. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.